Happy Tuesday, happy game day, and welcome to another episode of Hornets Daily, your one-stop shop for all things Charlotte Hornets. As always, we're presented by the good people over at FanArc, and I'm your host, Vance Ballard, but you know by now, you can call me VB. I want to thank everybody for joining us out there today, watching along with us. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment down in the comment section. Thank you to all those who have already subscribed. We're over 430 now, trying to get to that 500 number as we grow and build this Hornets Daily family here on the program. Shout out to our listener from England yesterday who left a comment down in the comment section. Always nice to see some love from across the pond here on Hornets Daily. Got a full docket for you on the program today. You know we've got a game against the Hornets on deck tonight. We're going to update Brandon Miller's status, talk a little bit about his shoulder injury that just flat out sucks for the Hornets superstar. Trey Mann also might be injured. His status uncertain for tonight. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. Then some positive news. The center position for the Charlotte Hornets has been more than above and beyond expectations so far this year. We'll talk about those two big guys and how they've done through the first three games. And then, of course, we'll talk a little bit about the game tonight as the Hornets travel to Miami for a division game against the Heat. We'll talk a little bit about that one to wrap the program up today. Once again, a full docket. You know we don't beat around the bush here on Hornets Daily. Like to dive head first into the program, and that's exactly what we're going to do here today. Again, we'll start with Brandon Miller, but I would be remiss if I've already missed it, but I want to say it again. Welcome to the Greensboro Swarm, DJ Burns, NC State legend, North Carolina basketball hero, and now member of the Greensboro Swarm. The Hornets have signed him to a contract with that team, and that is going to be positive news. That's going to be exciting. Someone fun to watch in Greensboro, as we all remember DJ Burns taking the hearts of America during NC State's Final Four run. A little bit biased as an NC State fan, just had to talk about DJ. Now, the main point of conversation this summer, as we know, was health with the Hornets. Can LaMelo Ball stay healthy? Can Brandon Miller stay healthy? Trey Mann's coming back. Grant Williams, Josh Green still out. Can the Hornets get healthy? Can they stay that way? That was something we talked about a lot this summer. Well, it took less than 2 games for the answer to that question to unfortunately become no. The injury curse has struck again, and this time it is Brandon Miller again. It sucks for the star, but we now know that he has a left shoulder subluxation. So what that means is he's got a partially dislocated left shoulder. Uncomfortable, but it sounds right now like it's more annoying than it is serious. The true timeline for Brandon Miller's injury is still unknown, and it won't be until he will be fully evaluated when the team returns to Charlotte tomorrow before their game on Thursday at home. Brandon Miller probably won't be playing in that one right now. The timeline is being predicted around a couple of weeks. Hopefully that is closer to 2 than anything else, but right now it's looking like Charlotte will be without Brandon Miller for the next couple weeks at least. Again, it sounds like it's just more annoying than it is serious. Let's hope it stays that way and that it's something Brandon Miller can come back fully healthy from and recover, because I know after scoring 25 points in his opening night where he returned from a wrist injury and a long season of rehab, hard 100% going at it to get back from that wrist injury, he was able to do so. And then in Game 2, he now has to deal with this shoulder injury. I know he was looking forward to being back on the court. I know he was looking forward to being out there with his teammates. I know he was excited about the prospect of a full year. He won't get that now, but hopefully this is not too serious, and it's something that Brandon Miller can recover from and come back fully healthy. Hopefully, I'm expecting, I would love to see him back by the game on November 10th against the Lakers in Charlotte, but if not by then, it could be even longer. Hopefully, it's not all the way until Thanksgiving. We're not having to wait a month or so before Brandon Miller comes back, but again, that won't be fully known until he is reevaluated in Charlotte tomorrow. While he's out specifically tonight and going forwards, I would expect to see Colin Sexton and Con Knippel continue to start together. That lineup looked pretty good against the Wizards, and I don't really know who else Charles Lee would go with in that situation. So I think we'll continue to see Colin Sexton and Con Knippel in the starting lineup together again, along with LaMelo, Miles Bridges, and what seems to be Ryan Kalkbrenner's position to start at center. We'll talk about those two guys, but right now he seems to be pulling ahead in the starting center debate. That's what I predict the lineup to be while Brandon Miller is out. Now, the depth that the Hornets added in the offseason, they've got to pick up the slack. We've got to see, we're going to learn quickly why that depth was such a priority, and was it the right depth that was added to this team. If there was a silver lining in all of this at all, I suppose you could say it means we're going to get more Sion James minutes throughout the next couple weeks, and if the rookie continues in his current form, that's going to bode very well for the Hornets. He's been one of the big surprises for this team in terms of the rookie performance so far going forward. He's been fantastic on the defensive end. He's shooting the ball incredibly well, not at a high frequency, but when he's asked to take the shots, he's 5 of 6 from beyond the arc in 3 games so far this year, so he's shooting the ball at a very high clip as well. And again, I'd love to see Brandon Miller back by the Lakers game on the 10th. If he's not, though, it's going to put some pressure on this added depth for the Hornets. It'll get some rookies some more experience, throw them into the fire a little bit. And it could be a good thing on the other side of this Brandon Miller injury for the Hornets, as long as it's not a long-term injury, not something that keeps him out for an extended period of time. But I do think we'll see him back in the next couple weeks. Again, just a partially dislocated left shoulder. In layman's terms, in medical terms, a left shoulder subluxation, but partially dislocated. I think that just takes some time to heal, going to need some rest, and be annoying, like I've said, but I think Brandon Miller will be back at full strength in a couple weeks. We'll know for sure once again when he gets to Charlotte on Wednesday. Miller's not the only member of the Hornets roster that's currently on the injury report. It is 7 deep going into the game against Miami. Of course, Josh Green, Grant Williams, 2 of those 7, not new injuries. We know what they've got going on. Brandon Miller, one of the 3. 4 other names on the list, but 3 of them don't really feel like anything other than normal wear and tear, one of which I am a little bit concerned with, and that is Trey Mann's status. It's uncertain for the game against Miami. We saw him with some discomfort. He has a jaw contusion, is what they're saying. So it's right now, again, up in the air whether or not he's going to be a full go against the Heat. The Hornets are, of course, hoping that he can go out there and play, and it'll be announced sometime today. Maybe by the time you're watching this, who knows if it's been announced yet or not. But as of the recording of this, Trey Mann status up in the air, and that concerns me a little bit. It's going to, of course, be found out today if he's going to play. Right now, Trey Mann's been a big piece of this lineup, so if he could not play, that'd be another big blow to the Hornets lineup in a division game. Mann's averaging 18 minutes per game, 6 points per game, 18 minutes per game through the first 3 games of this season. And with Colin Sexton being forced into the starting lineup now, Trey Mann's really the leader of that second unit. He's really the quarterback there of the guys coming off the bench. He's been leaned on heavily to play, to run the point, to be the facilitator for that second unit, and he's done a nice job doing that so far. So if he's out, that'll hurt the Hornets as well. Obviously, we know that Trey Mann is someone Charles Lee depends on pretty seriously. He's got a lot of trust in him. He leans on him pretty heavily, as we saw him elect to go with Trey Mann over Colin Sexton down the stretch against Philadelphia. So that too just speaks to the trust that Charles Lee has in Trey Mann. And if he's not there tonight, then Charles Lee has to go somewhere else. It'll be very interesting to see what the rotation looks like if both Mann and Miller are out tonight, and how Charles Lee handles the plugs and the plugging and the playing of the guys that he's got on the bench other than Trey Mann and Brandon Miller. Be very interesting to watch the rotation for the Hornets tonight. I know Charles Lee has been doing fantastic work with the lineup so far, with the guys he does have in uniform, so and I don't expect anything less from him tonight. As you know, I'm fully bought in on Charles Lee. I'm a Charles Lee guy. This is a Charles Lee podcast. But it'll be intriguing to see what he does tonight with the possibility of not having Trey Mann either. Now, some good news, a healthy position going into tonight is the center position. We've talked about them all summer long. It was a spot that was very heavily criticized, mocked, even scoffed and laughed at by some members of the media throughout the offseason. Well, all of those people are being quieted down very quickly. They're having to eat their words, because the Hornets center position has turned into one of the bright spots so far early in this season. Moussa Diabate, Ryan Kalkbrenner have been much better than advertised, much better than I even said they were, and I was banging on the table clamoring for both of them to be true starting centers to be true centers in the NBA at some point. Anyway, I did not think the development, I did not think the progress, I did not think the growth would come through this early, but they have been even better than I have advertised for them to be, than I have said they were going to be. Now, we know there's still obviously a lot of room for growth for both of these guys. We saw some of Kalkbrenner's weaknesses come out against Alex Sarr and the Wizards as he was getting beat up and down the court a few times, but he made up for that in other areas of the floor, and Kalkbrenner has still been very impressive throughout the first 3 games nonetheless. I told you Kalkbrenner's gotten the start in all 3 games. It's looking like that's a position he's kind of taking hold of and not really probably not really wanting to give back at this point. He's gotten all 3 starts. He's played 25 minutes per game in all 3 of those starts. He's also averaging 9 points a game, 7 rebounds, and 1 block throughout his first 3 career NBA games. So his numbers look much better than I think anyone would have imagined through his first 3 games. I think he's playing a lot more minutes. I don't know anyone had him pegged as a 25-minute-a-night guy going into this season. That has been something very positive for the Hornets to take away. It's been a surprise, and it's honestly making Jeff Peterson and Charles Lee look a little bit like geniuses right now, the way Musa and Ryan Kalkbrenner are playing, and the Hornets did not have to go out, make a big splash, go spend a bunch of money, do something crazy, move on from some of their stars to get a center in here in the building. They just drafted the guy they liked, and it's turning out they were right about that. Both these centers are shooting over 60% from the floor so far this season, with Kalkbrenner sitting at 87.5%. As we know, he has already gone perfect from the field, 7 for 7 in one of his 3 games, and is continuing to shoot very well from the floor, obviously very close to the basket where Kalkbrenner does most of his work, but that's all that's really going to be asked of him. He can step out, he can hit the 3, but he's still working on that part of his game, and in his rookie season, that's not going to be something that he's expected to do. Musa really not going to be expected to do that either, but he's looked good, and his offensive game has started to pick up. It's started to take that next step. Just in the eyeball test, you can tell that he's more comfortable with the ball in his hands. He's more comfortable on that end of the floor, and his shot making, frankly, has gotten a lot better through the first 3 games. As we know, both of these guys were humongous question marks coming into this season, and some had already written them off as really just space fillers in the meantime until the Hornets could find their true solution at center. And like I said, it looks like they have found 2 instead of 1 without having to go out and make that big splashy move, without having to utilize a lot of the assets they picked up in the offseason. And Jeff Peterson and Charles Lee are sitting back looking like brilliant minds right now for the depth they added, for keeping Musa around, for trusting him, for relying on him, for bringing in Ryan Kalkbrenner in the draft, and trusting those 2 guys to be the anchors of this team. And so far, very early, just 3 games, I know that, but they have paid off handsomely for Charles Lee and company through those first 3 games. Now tonight they've got a very interesting matchup. I'm very interested to see what they can do against Bam Adebayo, Khalil Ware, and some bigger guys, some younger guys, some different style players than the 2 of them. Now, Musa should fare pretty well against both of them with his athleticism, with his length, but I'm very intrigued to see how Kalkbrenner lines up against either of those 2 guys tonight. It'll be Ware, obviously, at the 5 position, but I'm sure he'll have to bang and beat down in the paint with Bam Adebayo as well, and that's something I'm interested to see how the rookie guards someone with as much veteran experience and knowledge of this league as Bam Adebayo has. So that'll be a very interesting matchup tonight. Speaking of tonight, the Hornets travel to Miami for a battle of 2-1 teams in the Southeastern Division. The Hornets take the floor for the 4th time this season, finishing up what has been a 3-game road trip before they return home to Charlotte on Thursday. Hornets do come into this one as underdogs with no Brandon Miller, the status of Trey Mann up in the air. I completely understand. They're 6.5-point underdogs right now as it sits, and that makes sense to me, especially with it being on the road and a tough place to play. Miami is never a place to go in and get an easy win. And this matchup intrigues me for several different reasons, one of which is the likeness of these teams, the up-tempo style both of them try to play. We know that Miami comes out like they're in a drag race. They have the fastest pace so far in the NBA, and the Hornets want to speed the game up as well. We know that that's been a priority for Charles Lee, for LaMelo Ball, for the rest of this team, has been pace, speeding the game up a little bit, and they've done very well at that so far through these first 3 games. It'll be very interesting to see how these two teams, who both want to run the floor, who both want to move very quickly, match up in terms of pace tonight. That's going to be something to keep an eye on. Charlotte should have the advantage on the defensive end of the floor, especially since Miami is turning the ball over at a rate of 16.7% of their possessions. So that's something that LaMelo Ball, Colin Sexton, Con Knipple, all of these aggressive guys on defense can take advantage of and utilize to create more possessions for them. The Hornets only turning the ball over at a rate of just under 14%, so they're a little better at holding on to the ball than the Heat are. The Heat like to run, and they do it a little bit recklessly. That's something that the Hornets may be able to take advantage of. But can they speed up fully enough to match Miami's tempo is going to be a big question tonight. I know they want to, but are they going to be capable of doing it? That's going to be something very exciting to keep an eye on. I know I just mentioned this, but I'm very excited to watch the battle of the bigs inside. Bam Adebayo, Khalil Ware for the Heat. And I'm not just necessarily talking about Musa and Kalkbrenner. I'm interested to see what Tajon Salon can do in there against those guys. How's Miles Bridges going to hang around against a taller, longer Bam Adebayo, as that'll be the starting fours for both of these teams? That's something to keep an eye on in the paint as well. I know Miles will want to stretch out Bam and pull him outside a little bit, creating some lanes, creating some room to drive. It's going to be up to Kalkbrenner and Musa to clear out Khalil Ware as well, and continue to create lanes for guys like LaMelo, Con Knipple, Trey Mann, Colin Sexton, whoever has the ball, is going to be that driver at the time. I mentioned Sion James getting some more minutes in the absence of Brandon Miller. I'm very intrigued to continue to watch him play, continue to watch him grow. Can he keep up that defensive intensity? I fully believe the answer is yes there, because that's what he does best. Can he keep shooting at such a high clip? I'm not sure about that. He's kind of out of his mind shooting the basketball right now. I'm not sure that's something that can be sustained, but I don't see a major drop-off. I don't see him being a hindrance on the offensive side of the ball either. He makes things happen when he's on the floor. He's a real outside of the stat sheet contributor. A lot of the things he does has to be seen on the eyeball scale, has to be actually watched to see his contributions to the game. It's not a lot that fills up the stat sheet, but he has been a crucial piece to this Hornets team. Another very, very pleasant surprise from this rookie class. I'm excited to watch him play tonight and see what he's got in store as well. Con Knipple always has a lot of eyes on him. I think he's starting to get more comfortable. I mentioned yesterday he's leading all rookies in three-point percentage as well as three-pointers made so far this year. He's shooting the ball at 58% from beyond the arc. Can he continue his stellar play early in his career? He's, of course, going to have a lot of eyes on him tonight. He'll be exciting to watch as well. Now, one thing the Hornets should not lack in the slightest coming into this game is confidence, because this team is playing nothing short of fantastic through these first 3 games. We all agree probably that they should be 3-0. A down fourth quarter against Philly, allowing a late game comeback, is all that stands in their way of being 3-0. But this team has played good enough through the first 3 games to have won them all. And that's something that, again, confidence should not be anywhere other than extremely high for the players, for the fans. Everything around this team is going well right now, aside from Brandon Miller being hurt. But the play on the court has been impressive, and that's something that we should hope to see continue tonight. Another important thing to watch is going to be this Hornets bench. We know that they strengthened their bench. They made a priority of that, adding shooters, adding depth, adding defense to the bench this offseason, and tonight is going to be another display of why they did that. We know that the Heat love to come in and find surprise performances from guys off the bench all the time. It's going to be up to the Hornets to get one of those tonight as well. The bench players are going to play a major role for this Hornets team, especially minus Brandon Miller. Trey Mann status up in the air. Even if he is playing, he's not going to be fully healthy. I know that I'm sure a jaw contusion is incredibly uncomfortable, so that's going to be something to keep an eye on as well. It'll be up to other guys, maybe Maybe Pat Connaughton gets more minutes tonight. Who knows? Liam McNeely is certainly probably going to run out and get some more minutes. He needs to have a little bit better display. He got his feet wet against the Wizards, and now it's time for him to jump all the way into the pool and really start to play basketball and live up to some of the expectations he's bringing in. He's going to have better shooting performances. I'd honestly expect one of those tonight from McNeely. He'll be someone to keep an eye on as well. This Hornets bench is going to be a crucial piece for success against the Heat tonight. They need to convert their opportunities, keep the pressure on Miami's second unit throughout the game. That's going to be something important as well. This second unit putting points on the board with each possession, not with every possession, obviously that's unrealistic, but capitalizing on the possessions they do get. This bench team has been shooting the ball pretty well so far this year, and they're going to need to continue to keep that at a relatively high clip. This one tips off at 7:30. Should be extremely exciting matchup. As I mentioned, the Hornets fans should be as confident and optimistic as they possibly can be right now with the way this team is playing until it comes all the way off the tracks. We've got no choice but to get behind Coach Charles Lee and company and just continue to be optimistic about what this team is building, about what they're doing going forwards. If they can stay above water while Brandon Miller is out, and until he comes back, that's going to speak volumes about the leadership on this team. Not just Charles Lee, not just in the front office, not just the organization, but LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, guys, bench leaders like Pat Connaughton, like Mason Plumlee, who are veterans who are there to keep this team up in times of injury like this one. If this team can stay afloat, if they can, and like I said, keep their heads above water in the absence of Brandon Miller and have a good first 10, 15 games of the season, come out of the gate, put themselves in good position, then I absolutely believe the play-in tournament is a realistic destination for this Hornets team going forwards. I know we're still very early into the season, but I've been optimistic about that since this summer, and the first 3 games have not changed that thought process for me at all, and I don't think the game against the Heat tonight is going to do that either. It's going to be a fun, hard-fought game. I think the Hornets can win. Obviously, it's going to be a matter of can they come out and put together the performance to do so, but they're more than capable of winning. This shouldn't be a blowout by any means. If it is, it's just going to be because the Hornets played badly, not because they are bad. That's going to be something that I'm going to probably end up saying a lot this whole entire season. They've shown me through 3 games they can compete with this Eastern Conference, and it's going to be exciting to watch them try and continue to do so for the rest of the season. Again, starting tonight at 7:30 against the Miami Heat, that's when this game tips off. That's going to do it for today's show. As always, thank you so much for watching along with us. If you haven't already, once again, smash that subscribe button, continuing to grow this Hornets Daily family here on the program. And we'll see you tomorrow, as always, for another episode.